And the best player in Australia.
We'll now introduce the video. Welcome all to this video. I am the lone goat today for this ARC tournament review. I'm joined by two esteemed colleagues. We have John, editor. He might have to edit this video or make him
Maybe, I don't know.
turn a passion into just more of a job. And we have dear friend and neighbor, Al.
Hey
How you
guys,
doing?
just so
Good.
everyone knows, me and Alex live across the road from each other, so we'll probably
It's cute
could have done
as we
it.
definitely play a lot of games.
Yep,
and
they've
like
played
it
so
makes a
many
lot of
games.
sense. We definitely drive a lot of places together because that would make sense. So we recently did a list review for ARC, and we went to ARC and we did it. And now we're going to go over it. We're going to go over our games. We'll go over the list and what happened. So let's dive into it. But first, we have to get into everything else. Bard's Table and Oswald Gaming, Code Goats, fully uppercase, getting your free Helm and Hera, I think it still is, but 5 and 10% off. Get in the Discord, link in the description, hit the notification bell, blah, blah, blah. You're sick of it already. Into ARC, we tried to bully Jacob. We tried really, really hard. We really wanted 6 games for this tournament.
Yep.
And up to about the Wednesday or Thursday before, we thought we were getting 6 games. And then it was brutally snatched from us.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 games over the 2 days, 700 points. And possibly one of the most controversial parts is it was not purely decided by battle score. So 50% of the tournament score was from your games, 25 from painting, 25 from sportsmanship. The painting was pretty extensive. The things like display boards, how in-depth we went with our painting. Sportsmanship was how fun was your opponent to play, how fun was their list to play, and then did they do any take-backs? Yeah. Any thoughts on that? Quick thoughts before we jump into it. Did this affect anything you guys did regarding painting or anything?
I mean, I it's the same thing. I always try and get everything painted, at least to tabletop standard, like just battle standard, just on the board. And I try to be nice every one of my games. I don't think I'm an asshole. So
You
I mean,
never
yeah.
do you?
No, you never know.
I kind of agree with John. I think the format was interesting that painting and sportsmanship weighed in so heavily on the tournament score, but realistically, I think it's a good standard to set yourself to get everything painted to the best of your ability. Display board. Look, it's one of those things that some people see as optional, myself included. However, I was planning on bringing a display board anyway. And the sportsmanship, I think, just kind of keeps people accountable. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, you can kind of run away with it a little bit, but it's good to kind of realize that it's not just your own experience at the tournament, it's the person you're playing against as well.
Yeah. Oh, it being such a big portion of the scores was interesting, but I will say rocking up on day one, seeing that many display boards and painted armies was phenomenal. I had to actually go up to Jake and go like, "Oh, yeah, good call," because the display boards were out in force. There was some awesome like Khazad-dûm, like Gandalf and the Balrog facing off, Smaug like fully wingspanned out flying over a bay. It was insane. Let's get into the list. So I decided I had some Dale. They're good now. Let's run it, surely. So it's very, very simple. Gearing with a Wind Lance, 2 captains, another Wind Lance, 2 banners in there, max bows, I think it's 14 bows. It's just super solid. It does everything pretty well at average or above. There's no real weak points. They're just solid. They're really, really solid. They have +1 to wound. They have a good amount of numbers. They have enough shooting to make your opponent come to you. It's just pretty great. John,
Yes.
the only army of Edoras at the tournament.
Ooh.
Also, I love this pick from.
You did the Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah,
Shadow of War.
love it.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good one.
Talk us through this list.
Yeah. So I basically it started off with I wanted to play with the Freylaf and Hera combo, because Freylaf is sick in the movies, and I just wanted to try that because not many other people were trying it. And so I threw that together, and then I asked some advice, just where to go from there. Asked Alex, asked a friend, Michael Kerr. Very, very helpful. Very, very helpful.
We
To
love
keep
Mike.
captain. We love Michael. And the idea was, it's just like, if I were to run this more competitively, probably would have brought Haleth instead of Helm, just to get the numbers up, because the Warriors of Rohan, yeah, Shield Wall's nice and did come in clutch every now and then, but like, the Warriors are they're just so easy to kill. Like, they're fight 3, they're D5 most of the time. They'll die. So you bring Haleth, I would have gotten up to like 40 models. Probably would have had a bit more play in certain objectives. Otherwise, though, I brought Helm because it was fun, and Helm's freaking cool.
Al, you've been championing this list for most of the edition. You've played a bit of Minas Morgul early on, but realistically, this has been your kind of main shtick, and you've said when we've been hanging out at Jacobs that this is the list you wanted to really focus in on. Talk us through it and what your kind of game plan was.
Yeah, I guess my objective going into this edition, I really wanted to, like as you said, kind of focus on a list and understand how to use it. So the list I was really inspired by was the Asciliath list, because Boromir is a sick character, really like that scene in the movies. And when it came to building this list, there's a lot of things that kind of write themselves. You know, you have to take Boromir as your leader, and Faramir is the obvious kind of second choice because he's a really good hero this edition. I guess I played around a little bit with some Asciliath veterans in my practice games before I settled on the list, but ultimately I decided the Warriors of Minas Tirith kind of put in the same amount of work, and they get to maintain the shield wall, so I went pretty heavy on them. Made sure I had those rangers in there. A couple Knights of Minas Tirith for their mobility and hitting power, because this list, aside from the one turn you get to call for Gondor, you don't actually have a lot of hitting power. You're kind of capped at strength 3. So the Knights just kind of give you a little bit more there. And then it was a bit of a toss-up. You've got Madril and the Captain. They're both the same points cost, but I ultimately stuck with Madril. He's a little bit weaker, but he gives you more might in the list, which really allowed me to kind of call all those heroic moves and whatnot with Madril instead of having to waste Boromir and Faramir's might, because they're the ones who are doing a lot of the killing.
So the stage is set. We're going to go to round 1, day 1, into Domination. We'll just go in that order. I had to play into Depths of Moria. I have played into Depths of Moria 3 times in tournaments. It's always been in Domination. And I went, cool, I know the plan. You bait the Balrog in one side, march up the other side, and you just try and avoid him as long as possible. Worst case, I guess we'll have to try and get those 5 wounds off. I've got some Wind Lancers. They're really good at that. If I get it in, my Wind Lancers didn't hit once. I got outshot by Moria, which was something else. I essentially had, again, half his armies is Balrog, 3 captains, basically 4 warbands, 50 models. I 1v1 one warband with my warband on the middle line, but away from everything else. I got +1 to wound, I had a banner, destroyed it. And it was just a game of me trying to run around on his side of the board, him trying to clean up my side of the board. And I was feeling pretty good. I just need to keep going and going really fast. And as soon as I broke, I was like, it's fine. I've got time. I don't think I'm going to get the break on the Balrog, but I think I can hold 3 objectives. I had the leader wound because he flopped 1 combat, and with +1 to wound and trapping, it was pretty locked in. And just ran out of time. There was an interesting call in the call for time at the end of the game. Ty and I both thought it was, like usual, you kind of call time and then you get to finish the turn. We didn't hear at the start of the tournament that it was call for time is dice down.
Yeah, it was a hard.
So we essentially we had like 12 minutes left for the last turn. We went, oh, okay, this is gonna be the last turn. Let's take it slow. Let's talk it through and like figure it all out. So Ty does his full move, and look, the game was pretty rough at this point. But I'm like, okay, I have some chance to call some heroic combats and do some stuff. So he does his full movement. I start to move, and I'd move just Girion into combat. Dice down was called, didn't get to move a single other model. I also had like a Windlands shot on the Balrog that would have possibly broken him if I got the wound. So it was tough to go into that, but I think it was a 14-13 14-5 loss, 14-4. Held 2 objectives. I had 2 people run off an objective as well, which flipped a full objective in his favor, which didn't work out well. But the Balrog's tough. That banner is just really annoying. John, tell us about Last Alliance.
Yeah, Last Alliance, I was up against Zach. Very good game. Same thing, Domination. So I had slightly more model. I think it was basically around the same, but I had basically a model or 2 to spare that can just like a Rohan Archer that can just sit in the back objectives, just shoot, just kind of stay there. I had my Royal Guard, like mobility, so I was able to just, so yeah, I do the game plan, kind of hold them up, and then just kind of like sneak around, just like have them there, and then sort of just.
Which heroes was he running?
He was running Elendil, and then Elrond on a horse. And that was it.
Okay, just the 2 of them. Okay.
Just the 2 of them, yeah. And like, so yeah, Elendil was at least just, it's much less scarier to look at when he's on the horse. But Elrond was kind of the one that I was scared of, especially with that his Wrath of Bruinen. Just could easily just like take out Helm on the horse. But the scariest thing was the elves. That was terrifying. Just every movement I made, because obviously you put them in the front line, that's how you play it. Every movement I made to charge in, and like I had Helm, like yeah, I charge in. I was just terrified. I was just like, I could just straight up lose a horse, like, and that's it, done.
Yep.
Elves get kills with the 6s.
Yeah, they did. It was not on my. Thankfully, Horse Lord actually came in clutch, and I got a couple Horse Lord saves, which is insane. But the game basically started out with, I kind of had the momentum in the first half. Elves killed a couple Rohan warriors when they charged in here and there, but Helm was doing work. I had Freylof calling the Master of Battles, actually, which was great. Leaf, I love Leaf. Leaf with the clutch, especially the one where he has the shooting one, where you can reroll to hit and you don't get the penalty for moving and shooting. Managed to get a wound on Elendil with like a bunch of throwing spears, like first, second turn of the game. Which the momentum was really going for me. And then the game just kind of kept going and just kind of kept going. And because his heroes are still great. So his heroes still managed to like basically hold out until the end. To the point where my resources were starting to depleting. He still had a couple left. And it basically just ended off like we drew. I forgot exactly what the points were, but I think it was basically the same points for everything. Like I got a lead wound at the start, he wounded my leader right at the end. We had the same amount of objectives. I think we broke each other as well. It was just basically my heroes took the first half, and then his heroes took the second half. So it was a very, very fun game, very, very close game as well. Great opponent. But yeah, no, it was very fun though, just to see all the heroes, the Army of Edoras heroes in action. So yeah, Leaf.
Yeah.
Leaf. Leaf. It's just so good.
I feel like if he can deliver Elendil into the late game, that's when the free combats really start doing work, because you just don't have enough heroes to tie him up and get him closed down. Al, going into Usurpers of Edoras at 7 o'clock.
So Usurpers in Domination. Initially, I was a bit worried about this list because they outnumbered me so heavily. So Alexi brought a lot of models. I think it was easily 16 models above what I was bringing, which is always a bit of a tough matchup when you got to control the objectives. But a lot of things went my way in this game. In the early rounds of shooting, I was actually not only able to take Targ off his horse, but I put 2 wounds on him as well. So that definitely took a bit of his hitting power away, because he only had the 2 mounted heroes.
Yeah.
When the lines clashed, the way it kind of happened, I had him in a bit of a bottleneck where he couldn't really bring his numbers to bear, but I managed to first combat get Boromir and Faramir into one of his chieftains, and from there I pulled a really nasty move, which was a heroic combat with one of them, can't remember whose might I spent, and they both went straight into Wolf. And
did you just tap him? Did you just...
it took me 2 turns. I did beat the first turn, put a few wounds on, and then the second turn I kind of had to follow up by spending more might to get both heroes back into him. But pretty rough taking Wolf out pretty early in the game. And then from there, it was really just kind of controlling those numbers and grinding him down until I could control the objectives, which paid off pretty well. It was a pretty convincing win for me.
into round 2, we had Fog of War. After that loss, I went into Reclamation was Gileath. We'd played some practice games, and turns out Reclamation really likes fighting Fight 4 stuff. Because that Fight 4.5 really stinks. Daniel's a newer player to the game, and we'd played one game previously, so went into this matchup, explained what Dale does, and he was like, damn, that's a lot of shooting. I went, yeah, you probably just need to, like, get up to it. Which didn't have... So, at the start of the game, I went, you know what? Faramir and Boromir were actually quite separate, like a good 12 inches and a big house between them. And I went, if there's any chance of taking him off, because Madra was sitting next to Boromir, I'm like, I'm going to go Faramir. If they manage to get back together, I'm stuffed, because they're just not going to die. But I reckon I can do something. So I pick Faramir as my target. I protect one of my captains, not the veteran. I wanted to make sure I had, like, the better courage and stuff, just in case I need to run away. And then just a small house on the flank. And started creeping up the board to take some board space, moving 3 inches. And Daniel was honestly just did not want to touch the shooting. Like Boromir was behind a tower in the middle of the board for 3-4 turns while kind of the flanks were creeping around. And eventually, like, there's a lot of D7, but there's also ranges in the back, so I'm popping wounds through. And there was one turn where Faramir and his flank of about 8-9 dudes who had been, like, kind of half moving to shoot but not really doing much, turned the corner. Faramir was exposed to about 7 archers, put every shot into him, did 2 wounds, had to spend all his fate in a might to not take a wound, or he still took a wound. But yeah, it was not good. I think he did actually take... He went down to 1 wound, no fate. Couldn't get to Boromir in time for the next turn. Hid behind a barrel and some dudes. I popped another 7 shots, got one guy through, got the 5 to wound, took Faramir off the board. Can't complain whatsoever.
That's the thing with Faramir. Yeah. Like, on paper, he's really good, and he's still really good in game, but his one glaring weakness is he is just defense 5. So if you can really get opportunities to take him out, you should take them.
And 2, I think people forget 2 wounds, 2 fate on D5. Like, it's fine, but it's nothing special. Like, once he's next to Boz, that's when he becomes really annoying. But yeah, that can be really tough. And at that point, that's when I went, cool. And we just fully swung into them. Boromir would not go down. That guy was an absolute menace. Took out probably half my casualties. Wow. But managed to... And the way he was playing Madril, I didn't think he was protecting. And his reaction, obviously, when Faramir just went down, I think I'd gotten his protect. So essentially, was going in just to break him, hopefully get the leader wound. Boromir would just refuse to lose a combat. It was really annoying, but at that point, just had such a model advantage already because I started up 8 models or so, held my objective, held everything else. It would have been about a 16-0 because I didn't wound Boromir, and I got the kill on Faramir in shooting. So yeah, pretty convincing to try and bounce back. John, you had to deal with the menace Tyler who decided
yeah, so, I was coming off a good draw. It was a great game, it was, just a fun time. Yeah, like really thinking tactic. It was great. And then we saw the round draw. I saw Tyler. I was like, hey, buddy.
Tyler had, I believe, he'd lost by 2 points because he couldn't pick up the last gold marker in the previous game.
Yeah.
So he just had a super close game as well. Yeah. But now you have to go and kill Smaug.
I have to go kill Smaug.
That's the only way you win this one, right?
Yep,
you just got to wipe him off the board.
You just got to wipe off the board.
Unless I'm not sure. I'm thinking about it. If you get your protect and the objective and you wound him, I think there is a way to do it. Plus the gold marker. I think you can do it without killing him, but it's not.
No, it's at least because I was talking to Tyler about it. I mean, obviously Smaug, terrifying to play against. The game itself with Tyler, great game, great fun. We just vibes, whatever. But just in terms of like actually trying to win the game, the way to win it was not me trying to kill or wound Smaug, which Hera did wound Smaug, by the way, which is crazy, fucking amazing. But nah, the way was not to kill Smaug. I was talking to Tyler about it, like, okay, so how, if you were playing my army, how would you go up against the Smaug? And essentially, it really is just you have a gold, you pick a gold and put it on a hero that could delay, like an heroic defense. you have a gold and you put on a hero on a model that can move fast, so like a cav model, and then you just have a spare gold. I can't remember what the third one specifically was, but I think it was just kind of a spare one that you put on a warrior
Yeah,
model.
even like a hero that you can just sit in the
Yeah,
building. They go prone and just sit there.
Yeah, and the strat would be, he told me, was you go get your objective, because obviously I did that. You keep your protect alive, run it as far away from Smaug as possible. You delay Smaug, you run into him, quarter yourself, and then the game ends soon enough where he doesn't get enough VPs over you.
Yep.
Like that's just it. Because the heroes I had, like I just couldn't deal with Smaug.
No,
Like,
even Helm after that many
No.
turns, because you're not going to risk striking up or anything.
because I
so you
can't
just-
beat his strike because he's fight 10, isn't he?
He's fight 9, but even
He's
then,
fight
like,
9,
you got to
but
hit the
even
5
then-
or 6, and then you're rolling off anyway.
Exactly. And like it's just not worth it. Like unless you have a hero that like unless you have at least like a fight 7 hero, don't even
You need
I-
to like clutch up some throwing spears.
yeah, don't even bother. Like is basically the idea. Like yeah, you could get lucky, but like the chances is like yeah, you have to get lucky for that.
100%.
So yeah, the game ended in a loss. Naturally, a good learning experience. First time playing Smaug, so I guess I know what to do for next time. But yeah, no, it was devastating. Yeah,
Al, going into Harad, I have only seen a couple Harad pop up at tournaments. Either they're Mumak heavy, or I've seen one where it was a like full spam warriors, and that is scary. Which one of those was this?
So this was a Mumak list. It had the war leader specifically, so the big scary Mumak.
Yeah.
And then he had another warband, which was just a Harad chieftain with a bunch of Haradrim.
Yep.
So it became pretty clear who I had to kill and who he had to protect because he had no other heroes. He only had the 2, and I couldn't
Yep.
pick the leader. Made my game plan pretty simple, but also I'd never played into a Mumak before, so I know they can kind of roll over things and like stomp a lot of models into the ground pretty easy. So I guess what I did on the flank where he had his hero I needed to kill, I shot up that flank, mainly kind of keeping my heroes like running in between buildings. So it was Jacob's, one of Jacob's boards where you can actually move infantry through the buildings and the doorways pretty easy. And that kind of protected me pretty well from the Mumak just stomping over my whole army. By the time I got there, I underestimated all this Harad shooting. Like Boromir lost his horse on the way to the other side of the board. I lost a lot of other models to Harad shooting. I just didn't expect it to kind of go through my defense 6 and 7 so easily. It did. But by the time I'd got to the other end of the board, his Harad chief was a little bit out of position, and I actually called a heroic combat with Boromir. Boromir didn't have the movement because he lost his horse to get into the chieftain, but the other dudes in the combat did. So then I managed to fling 2 dudes into the combat. These 2 warriors of Minister won the combat and put 2 wounds on, and then he failed his fate roll.
No way. Was this off of Gondor or just raw?
No,
Raw
for
5
Gondor either.
pluses,
It was just
hell
like
yeah.
5 to wound.
Jeez.
That sucks.
Yeah, so that worked out really well for me. I was like, okay, cool. Now I've got my kill. He can't have his protect anymore. I just got to keep my hero safe. Stupidly, I put Madril out there and he got run over.
Oh, damn.
Fortunately, Madril wasn't the target. It was Faramir all along.
Oh, the target.
Yeah.
He chose to try and go for Faz.
He did try to go for Faz, and
Oh.
Faz was just pretty much sitting in a building. When he had an opportunity, he'd pop out, take a shot, and if the Mumak tried to threaten him, he'd go back in the building.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Fair.
I'm kind of like, from his perspective, I'm kind of like, if you try and deal with the Mumak, you'll probably need Faramir there.
Yeah.
And I feel like you could have chosen Madril, but yeah, it's rough and yeah, it just sits in a building. Can't do much about it.
Yeah, in the end, it worked out my way. Like Faramir survived, so I got my protect. He didn't get his hero kill because he chose Faramir. And we both got our terrain feature. We both broke by the end of the game. It's a real nail biter. Like it could have gone either way, but I think once I got that, once I got my hero kill, I was in a pretty comfortable place to just control the flow of the game and really try not to do anything too stupid.
Round 3, so I'm 1-1. John is a draw and a loss. Al, you're on 2 wins into To the Death. I ran into Rise of the Necromancer, and I went, you know what? Every scenario against Rise of the Necromancer is fine except the kill missions. To the death, pure ring rates. It was both Slayers, the Forsaken, which is the Spear and with Bane of Kings, the Lingering Shadow, and the Witch King. Is that it? Kamal was number 6. And I kind of went, cool. I have to choose my thing from the start. Am I either going to go full Necromancer, or am I going to try and split them up and try and get the rates? I went, nope, Necromancer, let's go from the start. Every shot of the Necromancer, every Wind Lance of the Necromancer. Hit him a couple times with the Wind Lances, so it was putting wounds on. Was never having to spend more than kind of 1 to 2 will to save him, which was a bit annoying. Goes into combat. He starts extending his race out probably 4 to 6 inches from the Necromancer at times. As soon as I had the opportunity, filtering through onto the Necromancer, he has a -1 courage. I have +1 courage from Girion. So we're getting into him decently. We're winning combats, but like the first time I had 6 guys trapping him for 12 dice. Defense 8 with +1 to wound. And get like 2 wounds, and I'm like, that's okay. But then he only spends like 3 will or so. Get another trap with like 8 dice, get 1 wound. I'm like, we're just not getting enough. And then the ring wraiths, just as soon as he drops to about 10 will, the wraiths just start to contract. The Necromancer gets down to about 3 will, and they're literally just a circle around him at this point. And I get to the point where I have to send in a Captain and Girion combat, and then try and clear the wraiths to get into the Necromancer so they can't stand next to him anymore. It gets to the point where we are all out of might. The Necromancer is on 1 will, and I'm just praying. He's trying to chill soul Girion. I didn't even resist the first one, just took the fate and passed it. Goes for another one. I use both will to pass it. So try not to take that leader wound. The last 2 turns, no might. Whoever essentially wins the move off probably wins the game. If I get it, tag the Necromancer, he loses a will automatically, leader goes down, and then I can actually kill the wraiths. If he wins it, Necromancer kind of walks off and they keep chewing through me. He wins both moves, they're just priority rolls. Necromancer is able to be safe, so don't get them. He breaks and quarters me. I managed to keep my banner. So I believe it ended up being a 7-6 or 8-7, like a 1-point loss. John, into Numenor. You don't see Numenor much these days, unfortunately.
No, you don't. Unfortunately not. Yeah. So I was playing against Ross's Numenor. Running the standard Elendil. He had a captain, and then he had Isildur not on the horse, which was interesting. But just at least just from my side, I was just okay. That's a big killing power that could be there that isn't. I was like, alright, cool. So the idea was initially, whittle down his troops, kind of slightly delay his heroes. If I get a chance to kill a hero straight up, I'll do it. But like Elendil and Isildur are pretty like solid. Fight 7, fight 8, and then they can sort of deal damage. I just wanted to avoid those for a little bit, have Helm kill the troops around him, and then go in for the kill with everyone else. What actually turned out was, so I played on the board with the big weathertop structure in the middle, and how he deployed, which I think probably was the main mistake, was that he deployed his Captain Warband on one side, and then Elendil and Isildur on the other side. And I was just like, okay. So my goal immediately went, I deployed everything on the Captain's Warband side, and just went over there and just basically ate it. He tried to do the ring around the rosy with Elendil and Isildur, but without any horses or anything, they were just too slow.
All the way around.
Yeah. So Isildur went all the way around. Elendil halfway started going through the weathertop middle, so he got there first. But by the time he got there, I had basically just wiped out the entire Captain Warband. He had all of his I'm gonna do another Leaf story here, but he had all of his Numenor bowmen just like perched up on sort of like a ledge, and I had all my throwing spears and archers lined up. I was like, cool. I called the shooting thing with Leaf again, and just basically wiped out the entire Numenor gun line in one set. I was like, sick. Leaf is great. Leaf is great. And the amount of times that the hits were the rerolls because of the fails, like it's just so good. And yeah, so Elendil came in, and I basically still had my full army, maybe 1 or 2 losses. And yeah, Elendel's warband came in. I got rid of the troops. Elendil was in the middle. I put Helm, Hera, and Freylof on him. Just struck up. I think Elendil. I think he used. I didn't think he had might at that point, or even if he did, I won the fight. Killed Elendil. Isildur came in too late, and it was just kind of like I killed the Captain Warband. Elendil came in next, got rid of that, and then Isildur came in last, and they got rid of it.
Al into Ryan's Assault on Helm's Deep.
You've had to deal with a lot of shooting this tournament, dude.
So much shooting.
So much shooting.
And this game was my favorite game of the weekend, and I'll tell you why. So Ryan is from the UK, GBHL representative. Going into him in To the Death against Assault on Helm's Deep. I'm like, great. Last edition I played against Assault on Helm's Deep heaps against dailies and just got destroyed by every time I'd play against daily, he'd destroy me with this list. So I pretty much had a really clear idea of how I was going to play this game from the get-go, and it was just get into combat as quick as possible because the shooting in this list is crazy devastating. And it did a little bit of work, but I was also calling march after march with Madril to get up the board, and I managed to send Boromir up a flank where he could basically be out of line of sight behind a building before I engaged. So that happens, lose a few models to shooting, nothing serious. And then Boromir swings around the flank. The turn before combat, gets shot by a bunch of crossbows, and he loses his horse. I'm like, great. Boromir's out on the flank, kind of in no man's land. Yeah, not ideal. He sends his bomb into my front line where the rest of my force is engaging in the center of the board. And here we both had one really bad botch each, and this was his first botch. The Berserker rolls double ones to detonate.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, the bomb doesn't go off, and I'm like, okay, I can live with that.
That's
He's
big.
about to kill probably like 8 warriors of Minas Tirith. We go into the next turn. Boromir's off his horse, but he rolls up into combat nonetheless, and this is where things started to go my way. The bomb goes off. It still kills a couple of my guys, but probably not as much as it would have the turn before. But I also had Faramir kind of hiding behind the lines away from the bomb, and as he started to wrap his troops around, Faramir hits the opposite flank to Boromir. They both start calling combats in 2v1 fights, and they both win their combats and go into fights, or go in to start to free up some of my other troops. And this is where the real swing happened for me. Over the next couple turns, I was kind of just spending my might pretty aggressively to start taking Uruk-hai off the board. Obviously, Boromir and Faramir put in work because I had to break him at 33% instead of. So I really had to kind of work overtime. There was also one Knight of Minas Tirith that apparently just kills as much as a hero as well. He definitely helped me get there as well. Towards the end of the game, when I break, Madril flees the first courage. And I'm like,
jeez.
Especially now that it's a VP for your opponent as well, it hurts so much more.
Yeah.
It was double ones on the courage check, and I had a point of might and a point of will. And I'm like, cool. If I literally just rolled 1 pip higher, I could have kept him around. And so he flees. And Ryan, all the while, he's shooting this ballista into combats as well. In the last couple turns, he just kept like pumping Faramir with it. Faramir didn't die, he was fine, but Faramir was going in for the leader kill. And so he managed to prevent me getting the leader kill. We end the game, and we look at it, we're like, this is a close one. Tally up the scores, and it's a tie.
Damn.
Yeah.
All finished like
game.
So. I assume you broke each other.
Yeah, we broke each other. No one got leader kill. He gets points for Madril.
Yeah. Did you take a hero off?
Getting out of there. I got his banner, so he had no banner.
Oh yeah, there
Obviously,
we go.
yeah. Boz was still kicking around with his banner, so I was.
And then I assume he got the quarter on you.
Correct. He got.
Yeah, damn. That's so tight, dude. Round 4, we have a very quiet Saturday night. I'll be honest. We went for dinner.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
true.
we were like, damn, it must be so late right now.
It was like
8:39. We're like,
Yeah.
oh. We all end up going home. Sean and I get back to my place. We watch Collingwood just lose to Geelong, sucked. Both have a shower, and then we're like, oh, that's it. It's like 10:30, both going to bed.
Yeah.
Get up for the next morning into round 4 Reconnoitre. And it was at this point we knew Jacob does not like Maelstrom. We're not playing Maelstrom. If
Yeah.
Recon's here, we're not playing Maelstrom. So we know that was off the card. So we know it's this, and then we're going to have Destroy the Supplies. I go into Muster of Isengard, which realistically in Recon, considering they get a turn 1 march, and then not getting it in Recon, I'm feeling pretty good. So Girion gets to start on the board with his full warband. The other Windlance is down. I get everything on turn 1. Danny misses everything turn 1. Turn 2, Saruman doesn't come on, rolls a 1. He's like, I'm not going to spend 2 might. I'm like, yeah, that's fair. Eventually gets them on, but I've just pushed so high up the board. Even the Windlances are coming, don't care. I've taken up about half the board. We meet about 2/3 of the way up is where we start combat, and everything is just so separate. I think he was essentially trying to sneak some guys around and then just hold the line no matter what. But I just have so many troops that I end up shooting Girion. Girion gets into a heroic combat and just runs off. Get my dominant 3 and my leader off. Saruman gets caught by I essentially get to respond to him moving into me. Managed to hit a 6 to jump over a fence, get behind someone with the captain, call the combat, swing into Saruman. He heroic defenses for a couple turns, but eventually bring him down. And then just numbers kind of went into it. I think I ended up 1 off. I was 1 off breaking, but at that point, I just essentially across the board, eventually, plus on the wound from both of us, we just grinding through, but I have more numbers, thankfully. There was 2 Oryx making a break for the board edge, though, and I had to send 5 dudes after them. And if one priority went his way in that sequence when they were running away, they would have gotten off the board and it would have made the deficit far less. But thankfully, it didn't happen. I believe it was... No, it was 18-0 because I didn't get much to make 2 captains off, but cannot really complain. That was probably one of the most positive scenarios for Dale, especially into Muster. John, there's a little mishap because I believe
Yes, I was initially meant
Geordie
to
just
play...
doesn't rock up.
No, he doesn't. So I was initially meant to play Matt Dodson Geary and his Defenders of Helm's Deep list. And Geordie did not show up, which then caused a mishap where, because Geordie was meant to go up against Marcus, and Marcus
already played Matt.
and Marcus had to play Matt because Marcus already played Jacob as a Gumby. So Marcus, we didn't really want Marcus to play Jacob again, so kind of came to roll the dice whether Jacob would play against Matt or play against me. It came to me, so I played against Jacob in the Gumby game.
It's Thor's company in Recon. What can happen?
I know, right? What? Obviously, there's a clear way to play the game and win. So I would probably say the game was nothing to do with Jacob. Just probably for me, my most disappointing game. First time playing Recon, I kind of had an idea of what to do in my head. I had the plan, but I didn't take it. I think I just didn't take it seriously enough. I think I had the plan, cool, hold him up, and then I have plenty of models just to kind of run off the board whilst I'm holding him up. But I just think I did that too late, and I think I kind of played around a bit too much. I didn't commit to the plan or commit to the solid plan that was happening, and that's just where it went wrong.
It's at the board edge, really far away.
Yeah, another thing is my warbands didn't come on the first go, but even then I still had plenty of chances, but I just didn't execute on them, and it didn't help as well. So I had been peppering him with throwing spears because Thorin's company is pretty low defense, and then when our lines clashed pretty evenly. I was pretty comfortable with where I was sitting at that point in time. Got Helm into, I think it was Dory, very doable. I was like, he'll have Helm was just gonna eat a dwarf a 10, which is basically my plan. He put Balin into Helm, cool, whatever. And then there was this moment where Dwalin was in combat range, so hero combat, to go into Helm. And Helm had charged, and there was a choice. And for some reason, I just was like, I don't need to strike with Helm. I'm fine.
There's always been a baggage.
Whatever. Because like, oh, if Dwalin comes in, I'll match him. It's fine. Little did I know, I should have struck. 100% should have struck. Spend a might just to secure that Dwalin, because then Dwalin would have stayed away. Dwalin wouldn't have gone in, and Helm would have still been alive. Because what happened was, Dwalin came into Helm, he trapped him, and I rolled a 3 high on Helm's dice, which sucked. So I couldn't even, because the thing is, I think Helm had to spend a might earlier on just to fake getting wounded from, I think, like a throwing weapon or a slingshot, which that was also sucked. But I was like, okay, look, he's still got 2 might, like, it's fine. I saved the leader wound, it's okay. But like, I was on 2 might. I think that's probably also what influenced my decision not to strike. And said 2 might, I rolled a 3 high, so I couldn't even get it to a 6, which is what Dwalin got. So it wasn't even a roll off, and Helm just got deleted. And I was
Did Grasper and Keeper come into effect there, or just?
I think so, but actually it was Balin two-handing and getting 2 wounds.
Oh, dude.
Oh wow.
Because BJ like, because like the big killer though was actually Balin. Because like Dwalin, I think he got like 1 Grasper and Keeper off, so that was 2 wounds. I don't think Dory got any. But then Balin just got 2 wounds. I think maybe then Dory did get a couple, which just finalized the flash kill. I was like, damn. And that was like first turn of combat. I was like, I made a mistake. And then I just played it wrong. I just too late to send. I just was too slow to send models off the board. I just wasn't like thinking about that, and it was just like just straight up a mistake. I mean, I will say though that Freyloff, where Helm fluff, Freyloff picked up the game because he just kept getting Master of Battle after Master of Battle, keeping me in the game for that little bit longer. He even just like started killing dwarves. He got like the twins. I think he got Biffer as well. But at that point, losing Helm and being too slow on the objective to get models off, just pretty much just kind of called it for me there. Like I held on, but he managed to get like a 3 dwarfs off the board. I only got 3 models in total off the board. I didn't get enough after I got caught and the game ended, and he just won the game. And so that was just kind of a lesson of like, don't play around too much. If you know that there is a plan, if you know that there is something to commit to, just do it.
Al, going to Aaron's Rise of the Necromancer, I believe he dropped one of those 6 wraiths to get some Hunter Orcs.
He did, yeah. So it was a little bit different from the one you faced. Had a couple Hunter Orcs, and they were all mounted, but 1 less Wraith. Yep. Obviously, I kind of saw the matchup, and I saw Reconnoitre as the mission, and I'm like, cool, this one feels good for me. After dealing with all those shooty armies, it was time for me to kind of get a matchup that was a little bit easier. Obviously, he had far less models on the board than me, so it was going to be hard work for the Necromancer list to really kind of control where my models are, and it pretty much worked. We went on the Asciliath or the Taurithilus board that Jacob has. So there was a lot of terrain. My shooting didn't really matter.
That's a very tight board, yeah.
They were pretty tight. There's obviously those corridors where you can kind of move models through. And I pretty much sent my knights and a couple infantry onto the flanks to so he couldn't just send his cav down the flanks. And then he sent his ring wraiths and necromancer down the middle. That worked in his favor pretty well because it just allowed him to like bottleneck and really stop me getting models into the necromancer every turn. He did send his wild riders onto the flanks, but they were fighting an uphill battle. They were just outnumbered every time, so they went down eventually. They took a little bit longer to kill than I thought they would. And then in the middle was really the play. So Boromir loses his horse pretty much turn 1 when the lines engage, to the necromancer just chill souling it. He rolled the 6, and I'm like, I don't think I even throw Will at that. Boromir's in position. I just let the horse go.
Yeah.
So did that. I was in a good enough spot that I had enough numbers to like really gum him up. But for me, it was the longer the game goes, he's not losing any models, and I am. So over the course of it, I was really just trying to call a few key heroic combats. Obviously, it's going to be really hard to kill these wraiths, but these combats were more just to keep my guys alive. If I could kind of redistribute my high fight values into fights and stop him getting kills quickly, it meant time was on my side. The one thing I didn't kind of account for was these ring wraiths, when they die, they get to come back within 3 inches of where they died. So what he was slowly doing was jumping them 3 inches behind my lines. And then when they die, he'd jump them 3 inches behind. All of a sudden, I've got, in the last turn of the game, I managed to get 9 models off the board. And because he'd been slowly jumping behind my lines, he was getting pretty close to getting these ring wraiths off the board. He pretty much called a move in the last turn that got 2 of them off. Because of Dominant 2, that was 4 models off the board. Yeah. And yeah, he really actually just threatened, really threatened to undo my plan. But look, having the higher model count, I ended up clutching that one.
Yeah, it's tough for the Necromancer, but they have so many tricks that they can do some nasty stuff. I feel like sometimes you just shield. It's like you just deny them the movement sometimes, because otherwise you're just kind of stuck having to chase them.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I really just struggled to deal with those ring wraiths, and the Necromancer was in such a nice spot that I couldn't really just keep slapping Will off him by charging him every turn.
Yep, 100%. Yep. Into the final round. Let's go into it. Round 5, destroy the supplies. I get to play Kylie, and as soon as the round was drawn, she just come out of the bathroom. I pointed at her and went, "Us, it's us." So went into it. I was keen. She'd had a not fun game against Dale in one of the previous rounds, and I was like, nah, it's gonna be fine. Go into that Taurith board that you played on, and again, it is just one of the tightest choke points. So much line of sight blocking terrain. Kylie's worrying about like the wind lances are gonna do so much damage, and I'm like, there's no way, it's not gonna happen. So we deploy down, start sneaking up the board, and essentially one flank. Kylie's playing very much strong side, weak side. Up the middle is Dwarf King with essentially all the infantry. Dane and about 4 of her 6 goats are looking at my right, on the right flank, and 2 goats and a couple crossbows are on the left flank. And I go, cool. I'm gonna match it and we'll try and get some kills in shooting, and then we'll go from there. We go into it, and I'm just not getting any kills. Windlance not doing anything. I think I get 1 or 2 crossbows from shooting. She kills 3 or 4 of my guys back. And I go, cool. Dane's starting to advance around the side. It's going to take him a couple turns to get there. As soon as he commits, I'm running up the middle with essentially everything. The only thing I left back on my weak side was the Windlance crew and a couple dudes. And I went, they can deal with a couple goats. So cop 1 charge, call the rogue move with the vet, trap, kill him, whatever. Dane comes around, they spend a couple turns getting through it, but essentially they wipe out the 7 or 8 dudes I left behind there. Between Dane and some goats, there's nothing I can really do to stop them. And there's no reason to me put more models in front of them to die. And I just run up and start engaging with the dwarves. I drop a Windlands right behind my lines up there. And this is where Girion comes into his own. He walks into the Great Hall. He has about 10 Dale dudes with him. Kylie has about 10 dwarves and the Dwarf King. And he gets to work. He kills about 9 dwarfs single-handedly. Just every combat, 3 dice, wins it. 3 dice, 2 wounds. I'm like, this dude is insane. He's just different. And he just was going at it. I'm like, he's going as fast as Dane was. And I'm like, this guy's, he's insane. We're going through, we're starting to kill. I break through Kylie's strong side and burn the first objective as she burns mine. And I'm like, cool, we're on track, all good. I then kill her banner. And I'm like, I have 2. There's no way I'm losing both of them. I have 4 VPs from that. She then burns my middle supply. And I'm like, cool, Dane had to go do that though. And Dane's going to try and go to the last one as well. So it's going to take him a bit to reach. finally push through. Dane walks out of the main hall, leaves the Dwarf King behind because that's basically the only thing left in there. I've just decimated them in there. Pop out, heroic combat through, kill one of the goat riders that tried to help out. Get to the middle, burn that one as well. We're even on supplies. I've got the banner though, feeling good. I then start to get close to quartering because just eventual dwarf grind, and I left too many guys behind probably. So I'm getting close. We get to the second last turn. Kylie burns the third supply, but I don't quarter. I'm one off quartering, and I go, cool. There's one more turn left. On that same turn, a captain and one dude was on against two crossbowmen. Killed the first one, heroic commanded the second one, killed it. They're both sitting there next to the third supply. I'm like, sick. We just burn it. All good. Final turn, Dane burns the third supply. I failed both courage tests on the captain and the dude. Run off, don't get to burn the third supply. But with banner VPs in the break, it is a dead draw. So it came down to genuine some courage tests. I had a will point as well. I think it was Snake Eyes and then to a 3. So there was no chance of them surviving, even with Girion being able to spot them. But they did pretty well, considering it came down to a courage test, and I would have gone up by 3 VPs, and she would have lost 1 as well. Yeah, I felt decent coming out of that game. But yeah, John, Return of the King.
Yeah, so I was up against Liam. Probably my closest game the entire tournament. Very fun game, very, very tight. I had a lot more models than he did because he was playing Return of the King. It was Legolas, King of the Dead, Aragorn, a nice handful of Warriors of the Dead. And I was like, cool, I will hold him up in the middle. I've got the models to do that, and then just go around the sides like have with a couple other models, get rid of his objectives and supplies, and then just come back into the middle. And that was working for a little bit. But what he had done was, so he had Legolas basically protect his back line. And man, Legolas was just like any other game, and I'm sure everyone can agree in this edition, Legolas is so annoying to deal with. Insane. Like, because I would have like a solid amount of troops in the back going to supplies, and then Legolas would just shoot them and just kill them. And I was just slowly whittling down my numbers to actually get the supplies.
Oh, he loves to see D5 troops.
Dude,
he does not care about them.
He does not care about it. He spend the might if he has to, done. And it is like the middle was holding fine for a long time. The 8 inches of the Warriors of the Dead it's very good for them because it's just they're able to just maneuver around your line and just kind of get into places. But I was holding pretty well there. Leaf was holding down. Freyloff was calling the Master of Battles. Hera was just a good delay and just kind of stopping other warriors from flanking. But then he had gotten 2 of my objectives, but then I got 2 of his. And then the game in the middle just kept going. I got a bunch of kills on him, then he got a bunch of kills on me, and it just came down to he managed to get the last objective. We had both broken each other. He got my banner. He got some of my other heroes. And then I killed his leader. I killed Aragorn with Freyloff and Hera and like a warrior of Rohan, because at that point he had run out of his resources. I think he used his free might that turn, and I just basically just trapped him and just swarmed him and then killed him. So at that point and the points we were at a draw, and it basically just came down to Helm having to make, because his last objective was in like one of the Tor Ithilast ruined buildings, I think. And so it was just kind of centered in there, and so like Helm would have to make a leap test to go over to just basically grab the objective. I had like a point of might, I think 2 points of might left on him because he had just been free hero combating the entire game.
Yep.
And like he had expert rider. I was like, cool. And like I'll make a leap test. I just have to get like a 4
plus.
A 4+, or even just leap, not get a 1, like just get normally, and then like just like dismount. I think.
Yeah. So don't roll a 1. Yeah.
Don't roll a 1. Don't roll a 1, guys. It's fine. I roll a 1 on the first attempt. I was like, cool. I got to reroll. I roll a 1 on the second attempt, and I'm like, dude. And I was like, if he had just gotten an average roll, I would have gotten the points.
Hop over, dismount, easy.
Hop over, dismount, easy. Double once. I'm like, oh, dude. And then
One's kills you at the worst time. It's
I
always
know.
the worst point in the game.
Worst point in the game. I was like, and then the game ended because it was recorded and because like people were running, and then it just drew, and I was like, damn. Just a crazy game. Like lists, like as he does in any other list, will carry that. You'll pay for his points and then some more.
Yep.
Like it just came down to like he's killing my models that I had to send my leader to go to the back because my models just weren't cutting it. Like my warriors just weren't cutting it, and I was like, fuck. And I was like, yeah. Came down to draw, very tight games. Yeah.
Al, final game, it's Battle of Fornost.
Yeah, final game going in Battle of Fornost against Liam, who's a mate I've known for years, and we used to play a bit of Middle Earth together a couple of years back, but I hadn't seen him in a long time. So it's really fun to get matched up against him for the final round. We were kind of hoping that would happen, or at least some point in the tournament. And he had Battle of Fornost. This is one of those ones, at this point I'm going into this game 3 wins and a tie, so pretty happy with how I'm going. I'm like, cool, this could be the make or break game. Looking at that Fornost list, and I'm doing, like Kylie talks about it a lot, the kind of the threat assessment and really kind of like mapping out what you can do against your opponent to win. And I look at the list and I'm like, it does a lot of things my list does, but some things a little bit better. So we both shoot similar. We've both got big heroes. His are a little bit bigger than mine, and he's got a fight 5 battle line for the most part. He's got those elves in there, and his knights are fight 5 on the charge. And I'm like, cool. The one thing he doesn't have is might. He's only got 6 might across the
I was going to say, this was no Kierdan, wasn't it?
No Kierdan. You can't afford him at 700 points. Not without hurting your numbers. So I kind of looked at it, and I'm like, I think the way I win this is I need my heroes to do more than his heroes.
And he had like 12 might in total, right?
Yeah, I had 12 might, so
yeah.
Like I need my heroes to do more than his heroes, and it's probably going to come down to the spending of might. So we kind of push up the board. We're both going for each other's supplies. There's a big choke point in this board. It's the Helm's Deep one that Jacob's recently done. So yeah, cool board. We get a few kills in shooting. He actually manages to put a few wounds on Faramir. So, we talked about how fragile Faramir can feel.
Yeah.
And this was the game where he felt fragile. So I had to like run him out of line of sight so he couldn't take any more shots after that, that kind of debacle. And then we get to a point where we're both approaching the choke point in the middle of the board. And I see a bit of an opportunity. I'm like, if we're fighting battle line to battle line, he's winning more fights and he's probably killing more than me. But if before my battle line goes in, maybe I just roll in with my heroes, I can start to get kills on the board. Because we both had our heroes behind our battle lines to obviously try and stop them getting shot off their horses. But I basically, the way I pushed up, I had a gap in my battle line that a 40 mil base could fit through. So we get it. I get priority. Or no, I think he gets priority and I just let him have it. So he can't respond. And then I send Boromir in through the gap in my battle line to fight on his own. This allowed Boromir to basically just kind of destroy his front line in a single turn of heroic combat. So then the next turn, I had Madril in position to start calling the heroic moves and forcing might out of him. His heroes were still behind the back line and couldn't really get meaningful combats. So that's where I really just started to chew his numbers. Towards the end of the game, he gets to the point where he actually gets Glorfindel and Ayana into Boromir together. And that's when I started to panic. Mind you, no one's destroyed any supplies at this point.
We're duking it out.
Jeez, yeah.
Well, because we're bottlenecked in the middle. I'm
Yeah.
trying to send guys around the flanks, but they're doing jump and climb tests, and it's taken me longer than I need to, even though I've got the model superiority at this point. So these 2 big scary heroes go into Boromir, and I'm a little bit worried. I managed to peel off Ayano, but he can call the combat to go straight back in, which he does. He calls the strike with Glorfindel, and of course I'm going to strike with Boromir because I can't just let him win it on a lucky 6. It goes. I get the 6. He gets a 4 high, and he's only got 1 might left on Ayano. Boromir wins the fight. Huge sigh of relief because that was my leader VP, my banner VP.
Everything, yep.
That was the game if Boromir went down, I reckon. But I managed to win that fight. The next turn I managed to, because I had the models, basically bog down Glorfindel, get Boromir and a bunch of friends into Ayano and just take him off the board in the final turn of the game.
Yep.
And then I win off. I'd already killed, he had 2 banners and I'd already killed them earlier in the game. So I got the banner, the leader, and the break. And no one got any supplies.
Damn. Wow.
Wow. No supplies that I destroyed the supplies.
No
game.
supplies. Again, it was
Crazy.
the board was set up. Like, yeah,
Wow.
he tried to make a late gun with some of his models, but I had enough models that I could pull back and just defend them.
Get into the results. So I finished 2 wins, a draw, 2 losses. John, you went a win, 2 draws, 2 losses.
Yep.
And Al, 4 wins and a draw. So, Al, you took out the whole tournament, first place. I believe your
Hell
first
yeah.
tournament win. Is this?
Yeah, this is my first ever tournament win. So I was
Oh,
over
dubs.
the moon. Like I was really tired by the end of day 2 as well. So
No, you
kind of felt a bit
beautiful
surreal.
Orchrist. Look at that.
Yeah.
yeah,
all
and
crisp.
look, I got the Orchrist.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
There it is.
That was
Prize.
a really cool prize.
Oh,
Super happy to have won that.
100%. I was trying to figure out the place because John, you came out with 31st out of the 50 players ish.
something like that. Yeah.
Which
30
again, for 1-2-2, feels solid.
Yeah. It was somewhere in the 30s. I just can't remember.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out my placing because all I remember is that there were 4 of us. It was myself, Kylie, Hewan, and Tyler, and we were all like 17 to 13. I can't remember if it was 17 to 13 or 18 to 14, but also I was either 13th or 14th in that.
Yeah.
Congrats, firstly. But we have to talk about not the thing in the room, but someone did finish the tournament 5 wins.
Yep.
And finished 11th.
Yep.
So obviously something happened.
Mhm.
Soft scores did take part. They massively took part in that result, which is the point of the tournament. We all knew that was the case before the tournament. He didn't have a painted army. The display board was there, and I assume the sportsmanship was pretty much down the middle. Should soft scores be part of it? How should battle scores be determined? How should sportsmanship be calculated? I'll go to Al first. Any of the topics, what do you think? What would you do?
So, my take on it is this: whenever you're entering a tournament, the players pack comes out in advance, and it's important to have a good read of that, because I know there were a fair few people at this tournament that didn't, because that tournament's going to tell you exactly what you can and can't earn points for, and it really just sets the parameters of what this event is trying to achieve. ARC as an event, it's been running long before Middle Earth has come along, or at least come to ARC. And it's always been an event that's really just tried to celebrate the hobby as a whole. So while showing up and winning all your games is good and well, what else are you doing? Are you putting the effort in to paint your army to the best of your ability? Are you showing up with that display board? And what are your interactions like with your opponent? Are you making it a fun, favorable experience for everyone who's paid money to be there? And when it comes to this, you know, like some people might kind of say, oh, these things, you know, things shouldn't detract from the best player on the day or what have you. But when you've got that player pack in advance, it's really about kind of having a look at it and really determining, is like, you know, am I doing everything I can to take out that top spot?
Yep. And it's pretty obvious that ARC wasn't trying to find out who was the best player.
No.
ARC was trying to find out who was the best war game or the best person there. Technically, however you want to person. Yeah, sure, you're the best person.
Yeah, like you said, it's celebration of the game, it's celebration of the hobby. It's not a celebration of who's the best, who's the best, who's got the best skills. Because like that, at the end of the day, that's not what the game is about. It's about It's about building your army. It's about painting it. Then it's about playing the army. And I think just in terms of like soft skills, I think it was well done. I think like you read the players pack, you know what you're in for. And yeah, because being a player, like you said, just isn't about the games. It's also just about how you interact with the community. It's how you interact with the army that you're making and everything. Make a display board, even if it's a stupid idea, like weighing it down to 30 kilograms and then deciding to carry it up 2 flights of stairs. And then when people ask, why did you do that? You say, because Helm would have done it. So, but yeah, no, I think it's important. I think stuff like sportsmanship is a really good score. I'm happy to toss up, like, whether painting should be as important. Yeah, I guess in other tournaments, this one it's important because it's about the hobby. Other tournaments, sure, we could talk about the painting, but I think sportsmanship should always be important there at the end of the day, because that's what keeps the community alive. It's what keeps people playing the games. It's a literal rule in the published rules book to just be a nice person. Like, because it was funny because you were bringing it up, like, we looked at because Jacob posted the final scores and then the scores without any of the soft scores, like just the game scores, and there are some people that were like in the top 10 that then got down into like the top 20, and when we asked them, it was just like they won their games, everything was all painted, and then I was just like, so were you just like not a nice were you just like
maybe armies are fun to play against?
Maybe armies are fun to play against, or
It's one of those things, and I do want to talk on, I guess, painting in isolation and sportsmanship in isolation. Sportsmanship it's a funny one because it's ultimately going to be the other person's interpretation of you, and that can sometimes swing against you in ways that, I don't know, may not seem fair, or maybe they just had a shitty game and they take it out on you. But I think it's ultimately an important thing to have there because it keeps people accountable. And it's only a small minority of people that kind of sometimes ruin it for everyone else, but it can be a really negative experience when you do have that one person that really wants to kind of put their wins above, I guess, everyone else's experience. And so just kind of having it there kind of hopefully keeps people accountable and really just understanding, why we're doing this. And then when it comes to painting as well, it's not about being the best painter in the world. It's about just kind of putting in the effort. And I think, I'm pretty sure Jacob awarded full tournament points for painting to just people that had put in the effort to make their armies look nice to the best of their ability. And it wasn't so much about how good a painter they were.
Even just making a display board, he just checked, do you have a display board? Didn't ask, where is it, does it look good? Just, do you have a display board? And that was it. That's all you needed.
My only thing I will love to touch on is sportsmanship. I think the way it's scored is the thing I think needs to be still sorted out. I think it should be scored in some way, but like at the start of the tournament, with something I've done in like the escalation league, is how do you score a 5-point thing? Because everyone goes like, oh yeah, it was a good game, it was 5 stars. I'm like, the average should be 3 stars. And 2 to 4 is like, oh, there was a couple issues, or it was pretty good. If a 5-star should be perfect gaming experience, I will travel to visit this person to play them. In the same way, a 1 should be, I don't want to play this person ever. I'll tell the TO hey, please don't put me up against this person. We need to establish, and it's very hard to get an objective range. I also don't know because there were multiple. So for was your opponent fun to play against? Was the army fun to play against? That was all 1 to 5, but that was for each round. So you had to score out of essentially 50. I don't think that's justifiable. Is if you just get a couple random opponents who, again, automatically go, oh, it was a good game, it was a 5, or they're hypercritical and go, there were a couple minor issues, therefore it's a 2. That's a massive swing in the context of a 50-point system. So I'm kind of maybe there needs to be as soon as you get over a certain threshold is when you start actually gaining or losing points for sportsmanship. So everyone gets 10 auto points, but as soon as you go you've lost more than 5 points is when you start losing actual sportsmanship points. Because I just feel it's just too volatile. After you lose, it's harder to give good sportsmanship. When you win, you're more likely to give better sportsmanship to your opponent. So I don't know what the answer is, but I'll be interested to know what you guys think in the comments. But guys, any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
I do actually like the distinction between, like, some kind of distinction between enjoyment with the player versus enjoyment with the player's army, because that is two very different things. Like, for example, my game, playing against Smaug specifically sucked. I didn't like it, but playing against Tyler, he was great. So like that. I think that is a pretty important distinction. I think that is actually very nice to have. Yeah.
Yeah, my closing thought is ultimately I think it was a really well run event. You know, it's got to be hard kind of being, especially for Jacob, you know, being a one-man show, really putting that all together on the fly. And ultimately it was really good to just see like a big showing from the community. We had 50 players signed up for what was a pretty big 2-day event. And just really kind of seeing the community come together and put these things together.
Yeah.
100%. Love to hear it. Well, we'll close it there. So, from me, from John, from Al to the MGG community and beyond, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.